please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Before we get into the subject of today's video, I would like to insert a disclaimer. It involves discussing children who are no longer on this mortal realm, okay? And YouTubers who cover it within the genre of true crime. Now, there is much debate amongst you and creators about what should or should not be monetized on YouTube. This can be extended further, whether it should be monetized via Patreon, Subscribestar, PayPal, Streamlabs, Coffee, all the other platform alternatives where you can raise funds from your supporters to continue to do what you do as a creator. I do some crime content. I don't really do true crime. I don't believe I could ever do it justice. Editing is not my strong suit. I do enjoy making videos though, and I do enjoy covering crime, but there are certain ways I go about it. I prefer to go local crime, and I prefer to avoid using children or pictures of them as much as possible. If the crime involves a child, of course I have very little choice, but there are many images I will never show, and I on purpose make sure the video is flagged as yellow checkmark limited monetization by YouTube on purpose so I don't earn anything from it. I really don't. If you see ads, that's YouTube earning money off it, not me. Of course, you can't trust my word for it. I fully understand that. We're going to be entering the ballpark of true crime and talking about Zav Girl, a YouTuber I had heard nothing about, as she has garnered a considerable amount of negative attention. This negative attention has cost her. It has cost her to the tune of subscribers, patrons. It's not good. How one handles the situation is also key to this. And as my knowledge of true crime is quite limited, I do not know if Zav Girl was well respected. I do not know if she is still well respected. And that perhaps is a good thing, that I don't know this. I don't hold a bias because I know very little beyond the information I have in front of me. I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're going to be entering into this with as little bias as possible. I like crime content. The only bias I hold is the one where I do believe a creator should be entitled to monetize their content. It is down to YouTube's rules as to whether or not it gets monetized. But that's only on YouTube. I have no opinion elsewhere. You'll understand why I've said that soon enough. The first article we're going to look at comes from Venture Jolt. Who is Zav Girl? YouTuber Zav Girl, who specializes in real crime, has come under fire for offering patrons autopsy photos of an unalived youngster in exchange for donations. It was alleged Zav Girl obtained terrible images of 11-year-old Gannon, my apologies, I'm not familiar with that name, who was allegedly unalived in 2020 by his mother, Letitia. YouTube personalities like Zav Girl and Natasha Cooper have built substantial fan bases by discussing and analyzing true crime stories. Zav Girl, whose channel has almost 92,000 members, not anymore, says it serves as a forum for victims of terrible acts who are unable to speak for themselves. She has a background in psychology and hopes to stimulate debate in order to expand her understanding of people. On the other hand, Natasha Cooper has 2,000 dedicated fans. Her channel raises awareness for and discusses real crime cases both solved and unsolved. She encourages respectful differing opinions and constructive dialogue between herself and her audience. So there's a second person to add to this subject called Natasha Cooper. I know nothing of this person, so we're going to focus predominantly on Zav Girl, who I know nothing of as well, but apparently has a bigger audience. Clicks, yo. How they're both linked in this article is that both had offered, allegedly, the autopsy images for donations, which is where the outrage is. Generally on the internet, when it comes to involving children, people take great umbrage with using children to make money. It's why family channels are, while very popular for the most part, also looked down upon by many creators, understandably so, and their supporters. Not because they're black pill boomers, no, but because many of us believe children should not be subjected to this. They should choose to do it when they're an adult. Having them raised in front of the camera risks them developing some rather unhealthy habits, entitlements, attitudes. We would rather they become the very best version of themselves. So not being in front of the camera here is fantastic for that. With the backlash of this Zav Girl was eventually forced to make a statement on her community post, where she says the following: "The reality of the situation is that different people feel differently about this. Some people genuinely think making a video including the autopsy photos is bad, and I respect their opinion and feelings. Other people like myself think of autopsy photos and the coroner discussing explaining them as interesting and informative, and are able to view it all in a more scientific, detached way. It's just one of those things where it depends on the person. I am not adamantly against taking down the video if people are truly unhappy with it, and I will absolutely consider doing that. But right now it seems there are a lot of people who are acting in bad faith and creating lies for fun and excitement in order to pit others against me. If you've heard the latest rumor that I've been distributing photos of Gannon's genitalia, I assure you I have not, and his genitalia isn't visible in any of the autopsy photos in the autopsy coroner video, so it's a bit difficult to sort through what's what, when there are other creators who have the same autopsy photos up right here on YouTube for public viewing on their channel, where anyone can stumble across them, and they are not being attacked as I am right now. It becomes obvious that some of this hate I'm receiving is not genuine and is being done for other reasons. YouTube drama gets clicks. It does. And I tend to agree if there are other channels that have been doing this, they should be called out as well. I understand some of you have issues with me charging money on my Patreon for the video, but if I was charging money for the autopsy files alone or something like that, I think I'd see your point. But in this case, I spent a lot of time and worked hard putting together a video, lining up the coroner's audio and descriptions along with the appropriate part of the photos she is describing, and editing it together to try and make it as informative as possible for the viewer. That is what I'm charging for, which I would hope you can agree is understandable. Anyway, thank you to those who have reached out to me with your take on it in a respectful way, who understand this is simply a bit of a grey area as to what is socially acceptable and what isn't. Like I said, I'm not against removing the video and I care what you think, but it's hard to make sense of it all while I'm getting some very seriously unhinged threats being made against myself and my loved ones. And those threats are coming from those who claim I'm doing something morally objectionable. For those of you who are willing to discuss this rationally and want to communicate your thoughts, please comment on this post as I might not see it anywhere else. After I deal with the threats, I will come back and read everything here, so I can get an idea on the best way to proceed based on all of your input. Based on the outrage, I'm pretty sure the response is quite negative. That's not to say there isn't any positive, and nor am I going to draw any conclusions just yet. As a creator, I can understand the effort one puts in to make certain videos, 100%. But I do something called playing the game. To play the game means you know there are many topics you are not going to earn money from, and nor should you really. When it comes to children, it's a tricky one. You are right, it is a grey area, 100%. And if you did put as much effort into a video as you say you have by describing it in the way you have here, I can understand why you believe you should be compensated for that. Again though, sometimes we have to play the game, and that game includes thinking about the rewatchability aspect and not charging for it, because we know other content may get views from it. But then that's one issue of another issue, and that is the one where many do not like it when you feature children in the video. And this one, it's an autopsy. That, based on the response, is not a grey area. The grey area is the earlier mentioned, not this part at all. Again, true crime, I generally don't take issue with people monetizing, but when it involves children, many take issue with it. Many take issue with it because it involves children, and there is a moral aspect to it, and I fully understand sometimes you have to try and look beyond that. That's not, and I'm shaking my head here, I don't know why, you can't see it, but that's not how people perceive this. And I would think for somebody who champions that psychology aspect, you would understand that. You're going to get hate, you're going to get threats, you're going to get a lot of heat. How you handle the situation is fundamental to that. So perhaps we should look at some of the responses to that. The first consequence is a loss of 5,000 subscribers at time of recording. That is a vast drop, but you'll notice in the Social Blade, there is a massive gap in viewership as well, to the tune of 800,000 views. Can I have those instead? I don't get views. Can I have just bring them to me. We don't do what Zav is alleged to have done. I'm going to keep saying it that way on purpose, just to protect myself. Alright, again, we creators have to play the game. On Twitter, Chronicles of the Shady tweeted, for anyone questioning the hashtag Zav Girl, here is a receipt of what her Patreon had advertised before the page was taken down. She made new links because it was shared so many times and disabled. Noticed she apologized for the link but couldn't mention the word sorry to the family. Image, Gannon's autopsy, said 5 separate ways. That's interesting. It's a bit of a brave one, don't you think? They also tweeted, statement from Gannon's mum regarding the Zav Girl situation. What an amazing woman, stop causing any further trauma to this family. Landon Bullard, I do apologise for mispronouncing your name here, Hiot. Gannon is my child and is not an experiment nor a piece of paper or photo. He is a child. I pray that all that is involved in this heinous act will stop and no longer do this to anyone else. I will not give you any satisfaction. No one deserves this and no one wants to be in these shoes. You may say that if it happened to you, you may not change your actions. I do not wish this on anyone. I'm sure you would rethink your actions if this was indeed you or your child. The good that I take from this is that good people still exist, and in a matter of seconds Gannon's army came together. I surely hope Gannon taught you all a lesson. He is the one who deserves an apology, my son Gannon. The prevailing theme in the replies to that is standing with the family of Gannon. Lana Westbrook, #Zav Girl and Natasha have both been removed from Patreon. Now if only YouTube could move that fast against TOS violations, #cancel Zav Girl. This is because of another post from Chronicles of the Shady. Update, confirmed from Patreon, Zav Girl removed, also True Crime with Natasha Cooper. Patreon states the page was removed, but it does say under review for Natasha when you go to her Patreon at the moment. Underneath, thank you for this report, this creator has been removed. Unsupervised Maniac, thank you, which one? Patreon. Both of the ones you reported. Please send us a DM if you do not want to mention their names here to confirm. That looks like tweets. Interesting. These consequences are, yeah. The thing with Patreon is a tricky one because they abide TOS as well, yes, but their TOS are not the same as YouTube's. Just to be clear here, if Zav Girl was to be removed from YouTube, it would have to violate a separate set of rules. That's the point. And there might well be an argument there actually, but I don't support yeeting people generally. I believe in giving people a chance. A sarcasm sign would be applicable, but I do believe Zav Girl needs to have her say on this at some point soon anyway. Via Legacy on Twitter, there is a 5-minute 14-second video from News Nation where Gannon's father made a statement, and he said one of many things, well notably, it's just evil. Because it's a news station, I can't play the clip, but I'll link it down below if you're interested in listening to it. One of the replies underneath, I'm going to say at this point her YouTube days are done. She better start looking for a job, just mortifying, and I remember her coverage of a name I cannot pronounce, let's say Keely Rodney. Sorry if I got that wrong. And it was awful. She's definitely a perfect example of how predatory so many of these true crime YouTubers are. So as I've mentioned Zav, it seems only right now we give her chance to speak. There are 3 community posts and a video. The video has drawn a considerable amount of backlash, but I'm going to go to a community post first, as this one is 12 days before the more recent 2 community posts and the video. So, the first post, hey you all, so I got a bunch of Letitia Stouch case files I'm going to be releasing. There's some new videos and info and also some videos they played in court, but the quality wasn't the best, so I found the originals where it's not a recording of a crooked TV screen. So if you're interested, keep your eyes out for my videos. I'm going to get them out as fast as I can. There's some that might take me a bit longer because all the text messages I like to read them. Okay, replies underneath, you need to let this family grieve. Unsubbed, this is morally incomprehensible. And the best thing anyone can do to show how disgusted they are with what she did is unsubscribe from all of her social media platforms. In general, I don't agree with the whole cancel culture thing, but in this case, cancel this nasty person. Because of the growing backlash, she also responded in the form of a video.
Hi everyone. If you're listening to this, then you likely know about the last few days. I want to apologize to everyone I've hurt, but especially Cannon's family. I've been doing some major soul searching and reflecting. There are many trying to define my motivations, and while I'm not looking for forgiveness or trying to make excuses, I do hope to provide additional context that has not been made clear. I have followed the Letitia Stout case closely, and it was actually during the trial that I made the official records request. And it was in El Paso County, Colorado. I requested all the video, audio, and written records. I made no request for autopsy photos. I wanted all trial records, but my main interests were interviews with Letitia. The autopsy photos just happened to be in the files.
People were not best impressed with this. For example, I've made over 2,000 videos on YouTube. Not once have I ever read from a script. Everything I've ever said is from the top of my head and from my heart. When you speak from your heart, you don't need a script. Zav Girl wasn't speaking from her heart in a highly edited script reading apology because she is not being sincere. She doesn't feel sorry for what she did, she feels sorry for herself because of all the backlash. underneath image from the comments section. If it was truly from the heart, you would not have read it like a script. Reply, it was a written statement I wrote that I chose to read instead of just writing it. So wait, if someone writes something from the heart, how is that any different, huh? I thought this deserved a thought-out written statement. I wanted to put time into it and write it that way. I made sure I said everything I wanted to. The problem Zav Girl has is, you can't make a sincere apology on YouTube if you read it from a script, because you've taken the time to consider the backlash from every version of a comment. That's what people infer from it. When you say something and you mean it, generally speaking, it has to come from the top of your head. It really does. It's a lot more complicated, but YouTube apologies are cliche at this point. They really are. And there's a reason for that. In your case, you've just taken that planned application of everything, in your content, and you've applied it to an apology as well, which makes it come across as very insincere. Another big criticism she received is that for the short video she put out apologizing, where she apologizes and then goes on to explain everything, which isn't what people are after. I mean, I understand giving context, I fully understand that. But sometimes you have to just take the L. She put out a post saying, my apology video is not monetized. Sometimes YouTube runs ads on unmonetized videos. I have no control over that. I made sure I didn't monetize this video, so I apologize that they are putting ads onto it. Now, if she was smart, she would have included a screenshot from the studio showing it is not monetized. However, even if you did it in video form, you could have changed it briefly to unmonetized, and then once you've uploaded that to a various social media platform or your community post, change it back to green if you wish. Replies underneath refer to Keely Rodney again, where she made insinuations of inappropriate relations between teenagers, dragging out the case over months and months, scientifically getting her money's worth. She's been doing this for years. It's all about greed, accusing the creator of being self-serving and not caring about others. She also put out a post. Again, monetization is off on this video and it has been off this whole time. If you don't believe me after this, I really can't do anything more to convince some of you. You just aren't going to believe anything I say even when I show you, but I'm trying my best. I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to move on now. You guys can continue to talk about this, but I'm not. I'm sorry for the pain I caused the family. I had no ill intentions. Although now looking back, of course, I wish I would have thought it out better, but I can't go back in time. I can only move forward and learn from this. I am sorry to everyone I hurt. Everyone who joined my Patreon will be refunded. Oh, I forgot to add, so click on the pic and you can see the whole screenshot and see it's not monetized. The thing that might have helped here is there's actually one other page you could have added to this image. A vitally important one. It's the analytics one, where you click on the video and you show how much the video made. You go to the studio app and you scroll across on the video you're on, to the revenue part. That would have done more to help you in this context, in this instance of monetizing an apology. Reply underneath pinned by you. It doesn't matter how much she apologizes. It's crazy to me you will all sit and watch YouTube videos for hours with influencers talking about the details of the most disturbing cases. 90% of you will hop off and go right to Google to search the pictures. She makes a mistake, like most of us, and you are all ready to have her hanged. Some of you comparing her to the murderer. While it was disrespectful to put a paywall on it, her intention was not what people are making it out to be. Yeah, I would be mad and upset if it was my child. I guess what I'm saying is, those pictures have been released to public 3 months ago, multiple places. Crazy how nobody blew those sites up or bashed them. I heard nothing of a protest to strike law and crime. I know it falls on deaf ears. You don't see my point. You don't even watch this lady that much. I just have a heart and I see we are all human, and whomever doesn't like her, just delete her. You all won't be happy until you can take this woman's money, happiness, and life. Boob the Builder suggested deleting all the videos you made about the case and never mentioning the victim or the family again. And another Ironheart saying, fostering trust, promoting healthy relationships paves the way for constructive resolution and personal growth, something you did not do. Taking responsibility being the major point to that message. Now we need to go back to the apology video for something, because there was a pinned comment there. I say was. She did not sell autopsy photos on any site. Many of you were whipped into a frenzy by an envious YouTuber who has already roasted Zav on several live streams, propagating lies, trying to raise her own long stagnant sub count. Why should Zav apologize for a false narrative? Zav had to explain what really did happen before taking responsibility and conveying her feelings toward the family. I see some pretty famous YouTubers blasting Zav for selling content when they all have their own Patreon sites for more sensitive discussions with their private paid memberships. I say was, it's not pinned anymore. I wonder why. Other comments of interest. This is nothing more than a lame written apology followed by a but. Where's the money? And what do you plan on doing with it? If you're truly regretful, donate the money to the organization that his mother asked you to. You brought this on yourself, now deal with the consequences. This whole thing is absolutely despicable. Reply, everyone is being refunded, I didn't make anything from it. Next, casually sleuthing. No, you did not make it secure, Zav. You made it public by sharing just once. That's all it took to make it public and reshared by anyone who paid into your Patreon account for access. You were right about one thing. Nobody should have to go through what the family are. The bit you seem to be missing is that your actions have caused their pain. Still deflecting, still justifying, still not sorry. Reply, and I know that now. I made a mistake and I know that. I've learned a lot from all of this. Reply from casually sleuthing. I hope so, but your apology video does not reflect that. I will also say I think you made a bad judgment call releasing the photos and under a paywall. However, nobody deserves to be vilified indefinitely, but you would need to accept what's happened here wasn't right without excuse, as does anyone else who shared the footage videos. There are many more comments underneath, questioning your Patreon usage, the money you made from the video which we've already addressed, claims and the assertions. From Zav, I am not here to judge whether they are true or not. If you made money off it, of course, another dick move. A lot of the questions center around also your mods and how they allowed things to be visible that were not appropriate to be visible. This is all, by the way, under the one apology video, and there's a problem already. Zav is replying to a lot of people on it. I get wanting to understand people's grievance. I get wanting to try and perhaps change their mind, have them understand your perspective on this. The problem you have is you edited that. When it comes to apologies, in real time, we don't edit our apology, do we? We say it, and we either say it to someone's face and we mean it, or we don't say it at all. It should have never gotten to the point where it is now, where you needed to apologize in the first place, because many people knew already where the line was. I know that many believe YouTubers are held to a high standard, but when there's a context involving children, in the news, they're not going to show you the photos. Even documentaries don't show you autopsy photos, unless they get explicit permission from the family, and that's very important. Very important. They were not given that chance to make that choice, and the choice was never yours in the first place. Whether you are sincere or not, it is not my place to judge. But I do believe, while you may now know where the line is, it's going to be very hard for you to push on, continue, grow, maybe even prosper, when your credibility has been shaken twice now. I don't believe in 3 strikes and out nonsense, and I do believe anyone deserves another chance, a last chance, to try, to be better, to improve. But whatever it is that motivated you to do this video, and then to do an apology, and then to go damage control by replying to everyone, makes you look really bad. The optics of it are important. As well as being honest and sincere, you have to be careful, but you haven't been. You've been replying to everyone because of an obsessive desire to try and correct or understand, as you call it. That's not a good look for anyone, really. I'm not going to judge whether you are sincere or not. I'm just going to point to the fact that unless you can prove you actually asked the family first, cross the line you shouldn't have crossed in the first place. I don't need to judge your sincerity for an apology, but I also don't need to because thousands have already, and they found you wanting.